So on the cultural section today, as a Hollywood screenwriter, though I am on strike, of course, I want to talk about the morality of storytelling, how you tell a moral story. Tucker Carlson this week announced that he's going to put his show on Twitter, which could be a genuinely history-making move in a way, because if it works, it could stick a pin in the cable news balloon, which is basically being kept inflated by old people who don't know how to use the internet. And it's if I can't move my thumb like this and make the picture change, I don't know. So this could be a new thing. It'd be really interesting. But Carlson put out an announcement, and this is what he said. This is cut 10.
You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated. How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not.
See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's exactly the way stories are manipulated and are changed. So, of course, the reaction from the news media was horror. Here is cut 22.
Well, listen, Twitter was already under fire for misinformation, disinformation, all-out lies, anti-Semitism, racism before Elon Musk took over, and now it's gotten kind of crazy, right? Seemingly unmoored, if you will. Will anybody be able to police what Carlson says, or is this the point? It's just a free-for-all.
I think this is the point. It is a free-for-all. It's what Elon Musk wants to provide. This move by Tucker may cement the idea of Twitter as a right-wing website.
That's Miss Brian Stelter, who's just got his knickers in a twist, as the British say, because the left has a theory about storytelling. This is genuinely true. They believe that there is no such thing as human truth, as a subjective truth. So they think that all truths are narratives, right? That everything is, their country has a narrative, a culture has a narrative, people have narratives. Even your gender is just a narrative and can be changed by changing the story, as long as everybody can be forced to go along. That's not true. That is not true. All experience is subjective. Numbers, subjective. Everything is subjective. There is no point where consciousness and reality are pulled apart and there is some pristine objective fact. But some subjective experiences are right, including moral experiences. You can say that slavery is right, but you would be wrong. You can say that abortion is right, but you would be wrong. It's not right if everyone believes it. It's not right any more than the earth is flat if everyone believes it. Some things are true and some things are not, morally and factually true. So a moral storyteller tries to get at these things, these complex things, because we never quite approach the truth altogether, by giving you as many fair perspectives as he can. And this is why Shakespeare is the greatest writer who ever lived, because every single person who walks on stage in a Shakespeare play has a complete vision of the world. And you can hate him, you can love him, you can decide about him, but he gives you the entire world and lets you make your decisions just like God does, basically. So I want to talk about a film that is not Shakespeare. It's called Emily the Criminal, and it's a good film. It's not a great film, but it does have some wonderful directing. It's written and directed by Patton Ford. It has some wonderful acting in it. It's got that Aubrey Plaza, whom you've probably seen in Parks and Rec, and she was in the 2nd season of White Orchid. Her range is a little bit limited because she has the best resting bitch face in all of Hollywood. When she's just sitting there, she just looks like a really nasty girl. But she's got a good sense of humor in her acting, and she brings her characters to life. And so here's the story. The story, it's a crime drama, and like I said, it's watchable, and the performance is elevated. And it starts with Emily. She's an art school dropout, and she's trying to get a job. She's in deep, deep debt. And the guy who's interviewing her for the job interview asks her about her permanent record, and she tells him she has a DUI, and he says that he doesn't have any more information on this, but he really does. And then he shows her that he really knows that she's been lying to him about her record. This is cut 16.
So this is your official background check, which I have read, and according to the state, you were convicted of aggravated assault in 2016. Is that correct?
So you do have all my information?
I'm afraid we do.
Okay. Why would you?
Well, if you want us to be generous with you, then you need to be generous with us and be honest, okay?
Okay.
This is a very important job. You'd be handling private medical files.
Right. Right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's start over, okay?
Okay.
Can you tell us what happened with the assault?
No.
So you see, then absolutely goes off in a storm of obscenities, and she storms out because she feels she's been tricked, and she has been tricked. It's a terrific scene because all of us have been caught in a lie at some point. That happens to all of us at some point. We get caught doing something we shouldn't do, and it's humiliating, and we can identify with her. We can feel for her, but we also see it from the recruiter's point of view, right? From the interviewer's point of view. He's got a job. He wants to know if she's going to be honest, and she wasn't. So she's caught, and she storms out, and we see her life. We see that she's working for a sort of Grubhub. I said that she was in White Orchid. It was Lotus she was in. We see that she's working in Grubhub. She's just trying to make ends meet. She's got snowed under debt and all this stuff. We're sympathetic to her, but we also see that she's got a troubling personality. She has committed an assault. She does go off on people. And so she gets pulled in to a criminal enterprise where they are doing credit card fraud. They're using stolen credit cards to buy things. Now, later she gets a chance. She has a friend who went to art school. She's a talented artist, and they both went to art school together, and her friend is doing very well. And she's working at this fashion company, and she arranges to get Emily an interview with Gina Gershon as the woman who runs the company. And so now we see this scene again. And Gina Gershon, just like the other guy, asks her about the assault, and she tells the truth this time. So we feel like she's learned her lesson. And she's being sucked into this criminal enterprise. So we know she wants out, and we sympathize with that. And here's a little bit of this exchange after Emily finds out that what she's interviewing for is not really a job. It's an internship where she's going to have to work full time and not get paid.
You do realize this is a very competitive position.
Yeah, sure. I understand that. What I don't understand is how you feel so comfortable asking someone to work without pay.
You know, when I was your age, they told me all I could be was a secretary.
Okay, but secretaries get paid.
That's not the point.
Well, when you were my age, did you have $60,000 of debt?
How about this? When I was your age, I was the only woman in a room full of men.
But you had a job.
Okay, you know
You were getting paid. Am I
don't
wrong?
have the time for this. Clearly, you're a bit spoiled.
Spoiled?
Let me be frank with you. You don't belong here because you think everyone is out to get you. None of us are out to get you, especially.
Right.
I'm trying to help you.
This was fantastic, Liz. Thanks very much.
Thank you. No more talking. Just leave. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
if you
want
to tell me what to do, put me on the payroll. How about that?
So you can see, and what's funny is as she gets into the criminal enterprise, this kind of attitude, this tough girl attitude, actually helps her out. It helps her to fight off the tough guy she's around. But we can see that was a very complete picture. We can see that it's not fair. Internships like that are not fair. It's not fair to ask a grown woman to work for no pay, full time. You're still getting her services. She's not getting paid. That's not right. I've never believed in that. I've never thought that was the right thing to do. People are always telling me I can hire an assistant as an intern, and I think no, I'm not. You work for me. I pay you, right? But you can also see that who would hire her? Would you hire her? And on top of which, my favorite part of the scene is that Gina Gershon has faced in her career unfairness. She's been a pioneer. She's been tough. And Emily's friend, who's sitting in the room too, has also dealt with unfairness. So it's not just her generation. It's not just debt. We know this woman is kind of out of control. All right, so that's how you tell a story, and that's how you tell a news story too. If Anderson Cooper had the chops as a newsman, if Jake Tapper had the honesty as a newsman, if Gayle King had the honesty as a newsman to say, here is Biden's rank corruption, and here are the ways in which his use of power is just not fair, Donald Trump would have no power. He would never have been president of the United States. Donald Trump would never have been president of the United States if the American people got the news. If their stories were told as honestly as this story. Now, this story is probably told. I don't know who this director is. I've never. This is his first film. He's probably a left-winger. He's probably got left-leaning ideas. However, he tells his story fairly. He gives us, the only thing he doesn't give us is he doesn't show us the people who are the victims of the credit card fraud. He shows us the stores who are the victims of the credit card fraud, but not the individuals who get caught. And I know that sometimes credit card people will pay you if you get defrauded, but still, it's a horrible thing to have your life thrown into that kind of mess. And so there are victims of the crime. But he shows you everything else. Now, listen to the reviews of this film at the New York Times. A former newspaper, Jeanette Katsula, says, Emily's belligerence seems an appropriate response to the economic trap sprung on a generation of graduates exploited by gig work and corporate internships alike. By situating the character among many drawn by desperation to scams like this, Emily the criminal plays less like a lecture on the evils of capitalism than a darkly demented workplace drama, a cry of outrage from those forced to choose between legal enslavement and illegally obtained freedom. Well, no, it doesn't. Not to me. But okay. This reviewer is probably a left-winger. She wouldn't be working at the New York Times. I'm a conservative. I think you were responsible for yourself. I identify in that scene with Gina Gershon. But both of us could sit down, this lady Katsoulis and I, and say we saw the same thing. We understand that we saw a person who is out of control, who doesn't have a good attitude, and is also in a situation that's unfair. The difference is I'm a little bit more of a hard character. I'm going to say, well, unfairness is always there, right? So if you give people everything, if you give them as much as you can give them in the time that you have, they're still going to disagree. We're still going to have different attitudes. We're going to be men. We're going to be women. We're going to be leftists. We're going to be right-wingers. But we can have a healthy debate. We can be in a room and be friends with one another, even as we disagree with one another, because we see the same things. I always say this about Ben and I. Ben and I have wonderful arguments, and sometimes we have ferocious arguments because we see the same thing. We see a lot of the facts, and we see when our side is acting badly, and when their side is acting badly. We see the same facts, and we have different approaches to them. You know. This woman is spoiled, but life is also unfair. Now let's transpose this to real life, okay? It's still true in America. If you finish high school, if you don't have kids until you get married, if you try not to get married until you're, say, 21 and you have a full-time job, it's still true you won't be poor. But it's not hard to understand that if you have no father, or if you grow up without a father, and if your mother isn't totally pulled together, you don't learn those skills. You don't learn it. Maybe there's a gang out in the street that's easy for them to pull you in. So you look at a poor kid, one person might say, hey, he's behaving badly. He's not taking responsibility for himself. And another person might say, yes, but look how sad his life has been. Maybe we can do something about that. So AOC comes to you and says, oh, it's racism and everybody's racist. And I say, well, okay, but all of us have had some kind of unfairness in life, and some people have more unfairness than others. Somewhere along the line, people have to take responsibility for themselves. At least we can argue about it if we see both sides. Maybe, it really depends how you show that kid. That kid growing up, if you show him that he's helpless, he's small, he's got no father, he has to fend for himself, yeah, we have sympathy for him, but we might also see that he's like Emily the criminal and he's not really well set up to take advantage of what opportunities there are. The one thing you can't do is you can't change the moral universe. You can make the argument that abortion is sometimes necessary, but you can't make the argument that abortion is good. You can make an argument that a black man meets more obstacles than a white man, but you can't make an argument that the law should be changed so that it favors one race over another. You can make an argument that life is unfair. It is unfair, but you can make an argument but you can't make an argument that it will be fair, because it never has been and it never will be. This is the problem. We're not getting good stories. We're stuck in a lie, in a twisted, distorted story, and it's driving us insane and it's driving us apart. The people in this country could get together. I still believe this. The people in this country could get together. The people in this country could debate. We could pass laws that we all are a little bit dissatisfied with and a little bit satisfied with. We could get better people in office than either Joe Biden or Donald Trump if people would stop lying to us. They're telling us an untrue story, and that distorts everything. Man, that guy's great, isn't he? If you want more quality content like this, like and subscribe. And please subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show, wherever you get your podcasts.